Hi people, welcome to ECCSC Live. I'm your host, Tyrone Muhammad. We have an exciting show for you all out there today. And I would like to thank you all once again for tuning in and just being a part of our audience. And please, I encourage you all to call in with your questions or answers. To any questions, to any statements or comments or any suggestions that you may have to help us better the show, as well as relevant information that you think need to be imparted to us. Today we have Chantal Grant, a level up. I would like to introduce our sister today and hopefully just make the show really about the millennials today and how that the millennial group in association with the formerly incarcerated can be a major voting bloc to move a lot of the policies and implications forward. So today I would like to introduce Chantal Grant. How you doing, sister?
Hello, brother. How you doing?
Yeah, tell us something about yourself.
Yes, most definitely. Well, I am a 27-year-old Chicago native from Roseland, the south side of Chicago. I started Level Up and Vote about a year ago in the course of me organizing and getting generations back together and bridging the gap to show people why specifically millennials aren't voting. As you know, the turnout for millennials voting was 3%.
Wow.
And however, millennials are the biggest voting bloc as of 2018. So the main thing is to get into the science of why millennials aren't voting, and particularly Chicago black millennials. And so that's why I'm here, most definitely.
Well, listen, 3% of how many? What's the total?
Well, it's a 3% turnout.
Of how many? I mean,
Well, out of 100 that can come, it's a 3% turnout out of millennials that participated in the voting process.
why is that, you think? Is it lack of information? Do they understand their power? What is it? Is it a disconnect between politics and community? What is it?
Yeah, I mean, there are a number of reasons, and I think because there is a serious disconnect with our generations together, and just simply because of that, many do not understand why millennials aren't voting. And so my whole thing is to get people to understand why. And so millennials have to be shown why they should vote. As you know, over the course in particularly Chicago and the black community, is that there has not been tangible results that show why black millennials should care about the voting process. And so all it is that we have to dig deep and understand their situation and meet millennials where they are at and start just basically going into detail to why we need to change things. If you tell a millennial to go vote because it will give you better housing, better jobs, just the overall better economic situation, and voting in the past has not turned their situation any even better, then in what way or form or why should we vote? Because it has been the same result. So it's a process of just breaking down the finer details into why we really need millennials on board, and then breaking down the details to why they aren't voting to other generations.
Excellent. Well, I think with the formerly incarcerated, it's a similar scenario. And I'm of the mindset that when you have such a huge voting bloc, it's imperative that we find a way to show these individuals, urge them, encourage them that their vote, to realize that their vote matter. We have a caller right now, Chantal. We want to continue this conversation. I have a few more questions, but let's see what our caller has. How you doing, caller?
Yes, I'm going to make a couple of points. To begin with, I think it's important to distinguish between ex-offenders and millennials, and they're two very different demographics. And within the millennial generation, for instance, there's a difference between, say, a high school dropout and someone who holds a master's degree, a law degree, a medical degree. Millennials are simply a demographic that were born between certain years that we have deemed them to be such. But within that definition, they can be multimillionaires working on Wall Street to people living in public housing. And so, it depends on what we're talking about when we say millennials. And to a large extent, they're not any different than any previous generation of people their age. It's always been the case that young people don't see the connection because they don't follow politics. The average age of someone who's watching world news in a given evening, the 5:30, national news, is someone in their 50s. It's not someone in their 20s. People in their 20s watch reality TV. They're out having fun with their friends and drinking and playing sports and doing these other things. And again, the sort of things that are not necessarily related to the tangible socioeconomic and political issues that come with age and maturity. I hold a doctoral degree in political science, and we have been trying for many years to get younger people to be interested in this sort of thing. But quite frankly, the data shows that people start to get politically aware and involved in their 30s, and then they really start to get involved in their 40s and 50s and 60s. So, this is why when politicians campaign, they make sure that they get to every, senior center that they can find, because seniors vote. 20-somethings don't vote. They won't miss an episode of the Kardashians, but they're not going to come out to vote. Now,
Thank you. No doubt.
About all of these things. But that's a reality, and unfortunately, until we get them to understand that they have a real stake in this, things like student loans, in terms of economic opportunities when they get out of school, all of the things that impact their lives now, not when they're 65, because it's hard to get someone who's 25 to think about life at 65. So that's the challenge.
Thank you again, caller. What's your name? Good. Thank you, Shannon.
Yeah.
What you think about what he said?
Yes, most definitely. So, in past generations, you have to understand the technology age is here. And because the technology age are here with the millennials, we are on, as you say, different TVs.
Yes.
So our attention is not centered towards one direction as if it has been previously. I don't know if you know, back in the day, look, everybody sat in that one room with that one TV, and the news came on and everybody pretty much was on the same page. Now we have multiple streams of media, from the internet to YouTube to things like that. So there's so many things going on, but I like to contrast what he's saying as far as that their past generations have been more involved in the political process than my generation, and my generation simply I want to in a sort are distracted. Yes. But they know there is something not right going on, especially with today's elections and people put into position, and it kind of woke them up to see hey, maybe politics is something I do need to get in. Yes. And as you know, with our president and things like that, it's an eye-opener. And so it's really the point where they are woke, but they need guidance to know where to go. But they want to do it the right way. Chicago politics are corrupt. And that's the truth. And I authentically believe, and as I talk to many millennials, and when we do galvanize and organize like we have been doing, yes, the many conversations come to I don't want to be involved in anything that's not authentic. So until we be able to change the platform of organizing and electing our officials, then that will be something that millennials will be attracted to.
Yes, yes. I see we have another caller. Caller, please.
Yes, I just wanted to say something with regard to the young lady's response. If you look at the last quarter of the century, you see that involvement among persons who were part of Generation X and the millennials has remained pretty much consistent. What happened was that in the Vietnam era, when we decided to bring the voting age down to 18, we saw a large amount of involvement for young people at that stage. So then we measure every subsequent generation against that data. But the difference here is this. During the Vietnam era, we had the draft. So when you were 18 years old, you were scared to death that you were going to get drafted and end up in Vietnam being killed. So you had a real interest in getting out and voting and changing public policy. However, we had not fought a war that has had a draftee military in decades. So as a result of which, the idea that my interest as an 18 or 20-year-old are not immediately seen as threatened. So as a result of which, those individuals decided, well, I don't need to vote. There are other things I need to do or would like to do. And past generations have considered that the political process was just as corrupt. In 1985, people thought that the political process was just as corrupt as it is today. So what I think we need to do is get young people to understand that they have a stake in the process, and that not participating is the last thing you want to do, because you need to be informed. And quite frankly, we have so much, as she rightfully pointed out, that distracts young people. They're not in the room with their parents when their parents are watching the news. I learned that they
Caller, I would like for you to link up. Sound like you have a wealth of knowledge and information, statistics, and that's always good, because science is, to me, 100% accurate in most cases. But I would like for you to link up with Chantal Grant, Level Up. Can you tell the people, the millennials, as well as our caller, how they can get in touch with you?
Yes, most definitely. I mean, you can always email us at levelupandvote@gmail.com. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram as well. You can also call us at 708-600-9677 if you have any questions or concerns and whereabouts about our meetings, where we're meeting, if you have any input. And what the whole initiative of Level Up and Vote is to get our millennials' opinion and not force anything on them as far as voting. I think there are a lot of backlash with voting, and it's kind of tricky when it comes to getting a millennial to vote, and they have to first understand and be educated in the process, and that's what we're doing. And we're teaming up with some of our elders and some people that's been involved in the political process before to basically educate them first, because one thing that I for certain believe is that we have to educate them in something that we want them to be involved in. And so we want them to know who they're voting for, why they're voting for this person, how to vote, why it's important, how draw the line between voting and their current situation. And we want to give them tangible things to grab and say, hey, this is why I should vote. And so that's what we're pretty much doing. So we welcome all comments, questions, and concerns and advice. So
Thank you again, caller. Next caller.
Yes, sir. This is Ray. I call every week.
How you doing, Ray?
And fine. I don't have any degrees, but let me tell you something. Everybody that goes into the service during conflict or a war are scared to death. I was drafted, but I was honored to go and serve my country. There's no draft now, and guess what? people are still joining. They're afraid of dying, but they have the honor to fight for this country, and that's what they do. So the scientist or whatever, he made some good points. But I'll tell you what, I wasn't born with a gold spoon in my mouth. I love my country. I fought for my country, just like all these young men that are joining up and going now, because they love their country. And let me tell you something about last week, what you said. And I know you're not a quitter. You said something about you can't vote in Chicago, but you could run for the president of the United States. Well, you know what? There's a solution to that. Fight. Get all ex-cons and all the people that want to help them to change it. That's the only way. Talking about it's not going to change it. And I know if there's anybody that could do it, you can do it, sir.
Yes, sir.
Please do it that way, okay?
Thank you, Ray. Thank you, as always, for tuning in and offering your comment and suggestions. I appreciate it. So, Chantal, any policies that you all are pushing for, or what narrative have y'all decided on your mayoral candidate, aldermen? Do you have any?
Well, see, let me explain something, and I'm going to explain our technique, rather. So, millennials are now the biggest voting bloc. And as I said before, we're all on different channels. But we have this spark and this inner spirit to want to see differently. And so how we are doing it is that we're galvanizing and educating the people first. And we'll bring the candidates before the people to decide. Because if they're not ready and not educated civically, then they will vote blindly. And they will just be voting to vote. And sometimes it's not just millennials. There's other generations that do it as well. There's other generations that call each other and say, who do I vote for?
No,
I don't know who to vote for. What should I do? Because majority of us are not out here with the politicians. We're working every day. We don't have time to know the real integrity of these politicians. And as you know, and I'm going to just be real honest about it, within the black community has been deprived of various things. And it's because they're not civically educated about the political process and who they're voting for and what's their integrity. So if we're going to do the same thing, then that's ignorant. So now as millennials, what we're galvanizing and organizing is that we're doing something different. We're going to educate the people first. And then we're going to have the politicians come and give their platform. And we're going to decide on a slate for people. We're partnered up with some elder groups as well, groups that's been in Chicago for a while, and they know how we carry ourselves, and they know that our mission, and they're on board with the same mission, that we need a definite change. But if we go out there and vote blindly, if somebody gives them their flyer and say, hey, come vote for me, and we just go vote for them, then we're doing the same thing that has been done previously before. And in that sense, we would get the same result.
Excellent explanation. Do we have another caller?
Hello.
Hello?
Hi, my name is Michelle, and I have two young men. One is 17 and the other one is 20. And what I would like to know is, what do you think that the youth need to get involved? Like, how can we motivate them to actually take an active stand, if you will?
Yeah, most definitely. Just like the brother before you called, sister, he has said that the politicians know who votes, and they pretty much cater their campaign towards the people that vote. Despite millennials are the biggest voting bloc. So there has not been any initiative really to cater it towards the millennial voters. Millennials are more tech savvy, and for us to be so tech savvy, things about political marketing is just now starting to hit social media and things like that, and it's really not catered towards the millennial agenda. And I say millennial agenda, and I want to speak particularly to black millennials in Chicago. Gentrification is on the board. The high rates of unemployment is on the board. You can go to college, then come back, and you can't work in your own community. You have to go downtown or the west suburbs in order to work, and you have a whole degree. So these are some things that's facing the millennial. These are some concerns on the millennial agenda, and not only that, for black millennials in particular, again, is reparations. Whether that is through marijuana dispensaries for those that's been consistently locked up in our community, but now other people of other races are benefiting off of the same thing that pretty much locked masses and masses of our people into jail. And then not only that, there are other things as far as reparations, as far as economics and housing and things like that, and policing. And so we have to be able to address this. And a lot of people don't want to address it. They just want to beat around the bush. Mm-hmm. And we're more so, we're not for the fake and the phony and the beating around the bush anymore. We want the real, tangible things to make us say, okay, this is, we can get with this, we can understand this, and we can move on this, because this is something we can feel and make happen. This is something we can pass in Springfield and become a law and things like that. We don't want any more beating around the bush, if you get what I'm saying.
Yes, what is clear to me, thanks for that question, Carla, but what is clear to me is that you're not getting around millennials.
Right.
And you're not getting around the formerly incarcerated. So this platform will continue, and we will continue to push our agenda and this movement. Stay tuned. Next caller.
Yes, I just wanted to add this point. I think that there is certainly enough blame to go around, and though we need to cultivate the vote of young people, it's also incumbent upon them to recognize their responsibilities, because the data is quite clear that young people have plenty of time to engage in all sorts of nonsense that they find that is supposed to be interesting. You know, young men can give you the breakdown of everyone who started for the Chicago Bulls for the last 10 years, and who's playing for the Chicago Bears, and who's playing for the Cubs and the Blackhawks and so forth. They can't name their congressmen, their aldermen, can't sometimes name the president of the United States. So if you are not willing to have that kind of stake in what happens in your own community, what are we as adults supposed to do? Drag them, eating and dragging them to the polls or to those sites where the information is available? It is incumbent upon young people to take some of this responsibility upon their own shoulders. Stop watching some of the nonsense you're watching on TV. Stop, wasting your time on Facebook, and instead try and find articles, try and find pieces, try and get engaged with people who are in your community who understand public policy. But that's on you. It's a responsibility. No one can make you vote in this society. No one can make you participate in this process. That's part of the responsibility that you bear as a young adult, because that's one of the things that comes with becoming an adult. It's not just the privileges that come with becoming an adult. Every young person loves to be 18, can't wait to be 18, can't wait to be 21. But that also comes with responsibilities to your community. You don't just get the good things, you also get the responsibilities.
Yes.
Thank you, Carla. With this, make sure you stay in touch with us. Leave your information so we can reach out to you. For these last minute, Chantal, would you like to once again tell the people how they can reach you?
Yes, most definitely. If you have any questions or concerns, If you like to see exactly what we are about and how we are maneuvering and galvanizing the millennials, then please send us an email at levelupandvote@gmail.com. You can call us at 708-600-9677 and leave your questions, comments, and or ask where our meetings are at.
Thanks again for tuning in
Yes.
to another exciting week. Appreciate you for coming.
Yes,
sister.
most definitely.
I hope
Thank
to
you.
have you back again.
Yes.
And hopefully you'll tell us who you are voting for. Take care, people. Stay
Thank
tuned.
you.
Bye.